What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Champion Living Podcast, the only podcast crossing the lines between the sport of rodeo and fitness. Today's episode, we've got Tyson Durfey. He is a 14-time NFR qualifier, gold buckle winner from 2016 in the tie-down roping, and has been just sewing back into the sport and really helping the next generation. Man, we really appreciate you being here today. How are you?
I am phenomenal. Thanks for having me, gentlemen. Good. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're excited. We were actually chatting about you on an episode we just did about people kind of starting that next generation and, have had a big impact in the sport. And we were talking about, how many guys and girls love rodeo and rodeo hard, but it's tough when it's over, right? And it's hard to, you see a lot of people just leave it all around and don't come back because I think it's just more of a heartbreak than it was a clean break, obviously. So we were really just trying to encourage people to, get back into it. You'll feel, you'll feel that love again. You'll feel everything that you loved about the sport, even when you're not competing. And I think, as a competitor, that's the hardest part is, well, I'm not riding anymore. I'm not going, but it's good for the soul that we think. And so we were just talking about that and your name came up a couple times, man. So we're excited to have you here today and kind of go over just everything. I kind of want to hear about what makes a guy that made the NFR 14 times ticks, man, and know about the lessons you learned to get there. So why don't we just kind of kick it off with a little bit of background and, maybe did you come from a rodeo family or did you kind of find that on your own? How did all that come to be?
Man, I got a crazy childhood. My parents were divorced when I was young. My dad was like this hardcore cowboy and my mom and him split when I was super young. So my mom lived in the inner city. So until I was like in 5th grade, I lived with my mom, which was, I don't want to call them gangs, but there was definitely neighborhood guys causing nefarious activities, stealing stuff, running the streets. MC Hammer Pants was pretty big back in the day when I was a kid. My favorite artists were Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, NWA, Mac 10. Like these type of heavy gangster rap bands, especially way back then. And so that's kind of where I grew up. But then on the weekends, I would go live with my dad. And my dad was like, all right, and back in the day, we had Rustler jeans. They were like the ultra inexpensive type of like cowboy jeans. And I would stick on my Rustler jeans and I would be a cowboy and I'd ride horses. And so I would bounce back and forth between this city kid who is, stealing stuff and running the streets to this cowboy on the weekends. And that's kind of how I got started. But my dad was a trainer in professional rodeo, kind of like what you're doing now, Doug, or you guys are doing. Not physical trainer, but every day there was 5 new ropers coming to the house to train. Mm-hmm. And he would train the ropers and then he would train the horses. And so when I was with my dad, from 7 a.m. to midnight every single day, that's what we did is we trained. That's it. And, like I never went to prom. I never went to a football game. I didn't play any sports. I didn't even know about like physically working out and athletics until I was in my 20s. Wow. And so it was a really, really wild, volatile childhood. You could imagine all the things that go along with being, essentially poor and from a dysfunctional, family, and a broken family. And so to be honest with you, my childhood was all over the place. But I ended up ultimately with my father because I was getting in so much trouble, in the city.
Yeah, man, that's a really, really unique story. And to get to experience such different sides of the spectrum and also taking those experiences from those only, I feel like as you grow as an adult is probably made you stronger, made you better at adapting to a lot of situations. And I think we've talked about this a lot too, but cowboys are the best at adapting to adversity. And I think that, like you went through adversity early in life. So it's cool to see how that's evolved and obviously has translated into you being able to persevere a lot of different things and be successful in what you're doing. What about, so when you were when did you start rodeoing? Were you in high school, college? Did you start that with your dad?
Yeah, with my father. Cool. My trajectory, I'm probably the only guy to hold a gold buckle and never liked calf roping to start with. So when I was in 5th grade, I go to live with my dad, and my dad makes me a deal. He sits me down. My dad's like, if you could imagine like a John Dutton, that's my dad. Very firm, very hard man, no BS. And he sat me down. Like my dad's dad was raised by an original frogman, first wave Northern Beach D-Day, 90% casualty rate. He was one of the 10% made it out. That was my dad's dad. So kind of going back, it was kind of like hardcore dudes, right? And my dad was like, hey, son, you're going to get on the honor roll and you're going to have straight A's or it's going to be hell to pay. And our deal is you're going to be working with me in the barn, training horses, training people. If I'm there, you're there, or you're to be studying. So I'm like, I get it figured out really quick. Man, if I just study, I don't have to be in the barn till midnight riding horses.
Yeah.
Well, he comes back from the barn one night and he's been riding horses all day and it's midnight and I fell asleep studying social study terms on the couch. And granted, like we lived in a single wide trailer house, tires on the roof, like we didn't have much. And he beat the living shit out of me with a rope, with a pig and string. So bad that I couldn't sit down for a long time and it hurt. And he hit me so many times that I was he grabbed me by the back of the neck and he's whipping me with this rope and I'm jumping to get away from the pain and I get it from the back of my legs all the way to my calves all the way to my upper back and he just keeps going. And I mean he beats the crap out of me. And here's the deal. I'm actually thankful that happened because that was the moment my life changed. I thought my dad would kill me if I didn't listen to him. Most kids are like, yeah, man, dad's going to kill me. You know, mom's going to kill me. I thought my dad would beat the crap out of me. And he was probably just like breaking that hard shell that I had. I was an inner city kid. I didn't care what anybody thought. I was going to do what I wanted to do. I couldn't read. I couldn't write. I was in 5th grade and I was basically stupid. And he needed to crack that shell and he did it. But in that moment, I decided I'm going to pour my heart and my soul and my passion at 100% into everything I do. And I'm going to do it with urgency, like I may not live to tomorrow. And I chose calf roping because that was my outlet to get out of the environment that I was in. And somehow that beating got through to me as like, I'm going to apply my full will or I'm not going to do it at all. Zero. And whatever my dad did that day worked. It's way over the line. I would never do it to my kid, and I would be appalled if I seen it happen to another kid, but it did work for me, and I'm thankful for it. Yeah. And that's really what put me into the rodeo side of things, the calf roping side of things. I actually wanted to be a bull rider, of all things.
Yeah. We all know that. I think we all wanted to one day, and now we realize, thank God we weren't bull riders. Oh man, that's a hell of a story, man. And again, like I said, the overcoming adversity, you learned that at an early age, and being able to, I mean, just give everything you have and come to that reality at a young age just sets up your life to just go all in. And when you go all in on things, you might fail a few times, but most of the time you're going to see a lot of success, you know? So when you started professionally rodeoing, how long did it take you to make an NFR?
So I cracked out from the time that whipping happened all through middle school, high school. I focused on two things. Number one, making money, because I knew it took money to achieve the things that I wanted. Number two was the amount of effort that I would put in. All through high school, most kids get their ass out of bed about time to catch the bus and go to school. I'm up at 5 a.m., sometimes 4:30 a.m. because of my father, practicing 2 hours before I go to school. Then I go to school, get all my schoolwork done, then come home, and then we're roping until earliest 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So simply by sleeping a little bit less and working my ass off more, I was getting ahead of the competition. Now, I graduate high school in 02, 03. I'm like, man, you know, I'm a 2-time state champion. I'm going to be the next Roy Cooper. Like, and I've always used this, like, this is logic that I can give to anybody. If they did it, you can do it. If they have 2 arms, 2 legs, and a brain, you've got 2 arms, 2 legs, and a brain. Get your ass in gear, get up and make it happen. Mm-hmm. If they did it, I could do it. That was the simple logic I always told myself. I'm not like athletically gifted. I'm not naturally muscular. by speed, I'm slightly above average, but God gave me the ability to work my ass into the ground, and that separated me from the field. And '03 didn't work out. I spent my life savings, and I'd graduated high school with $30,000 in my checking account, and this is 20 some years ago. So that's what I worked and saved through my 4 years of high school. I go and I lose it all rodeo in my first year, all of it. Start a welding company, run it for 2 years while I'm still rodeoing, like circuit wise. And then at that point, you know, I had my own vision for my life. My dad had a vision for me. We were just not clicking, not getting along, fighting a lot. And I moved. I said, I want to get as far away from here as I can. And I want to find somebody that can pour knowledge into me. So I moved from Missouri to the Northwest, almost 1,800 miles away, just to get out of the environment, just to get a new surrounding. I met a guy who is kind of like my business mentor. And I went to work for him on the ranch. And he was like, man, you need to be rodeoing again. I'm like, yeah, I tried that once and it didn't work out. And that's what most people do. They try something once, it doesn't work out, and they give up and they talk about it for the rest of their damn life. Mm-hmm. He talked me back into going again. And guess what? I tried again in '06. I not only spent all the money that I'd saved again, another 30 grand, but I put 20,000 on credit cards too. And I'm sleeping in the backseat of my truck with $200 to my name in a foreign country. I'm in Canada. Yep. And I still hadn't made the finals. I hadn't popped off. But again, in life, we find these pivotal moments, right? These moments where we go left and we give up and we talk about it. And we're the old man at the coffee shop talking about the good old days are in the past. And I was really close to going that way. I decided to go the opposite direction and say, I'm going to talk to my mentor. I'm sleeping in the backseat of my truck. I literally was in tears because this is the second time I've lost everything. I'm a dumb Irish guy, right? I refuse to quit. That's my superpower. So I'm sleeping in the backseat of my truck. I'm about crying my eyes out. I'll call my mentor. He's like, hey man, just stay hooked. You got your first run tomorrow at Innisfail. So, and I'm like, okay. I call my dad. At this point, we kind of hashed things out. I went for almost a year and a half without talking to him. And we kind of hashed it out. He's like, hey, just focus on the basics. See, my dad was like the mechanics guy. He was like a Floyd Mayweather's dad. From sun up to sundown, in the gym, working, in the arena, mechanics. But I knew nothing about this. And this is what, like, this and this make champions, bottom line. My other mentor was all about the brain. His mechanics sunk, but he was all about the mind. And the pairing of the two worked out perfectly. The next day, I won third in the go-round. I won fifth in the second go-round. Second average, won 4,400. And then I placed at 19 out of the next 20 rodeos, nearly in a row. And I went on to win the Canadian Championship. That's '06, first American history to do that. And then '07, I made my first NFR, and the rest was history.
Dude, that's so cool. What a great story. And we talk about this all the time. It's the 10,000 hour rule, right? You got to put in that time. You have to put in those reps. And so many people, well, first of all, don't realize how long that actually is. When you start thinking about 10,000 hours, if you guy was to work, an hour a day, we're talking about over, I think it's like a few years of just constantly doing work. And people, they aren't dedicated enough. They're motivated by the end result, the potential of whether it's fame or money or just a good feeling at the end of it, right? They aren't dedicated to having to go through what it's really going to take. And I think that a lot of people don't understand what it really takes to get to that level, and the amount of like hurt and things that you had to go through. I mean, you're talking about crying in the back of your truck because you got nothing, I mean, that's deep stuff. And to be able to, have a couple people that you really count on and lean on, which we talk about having a team that you trust, that team is what's going to get you through the season. But you stayed hooked. And that next day is when it all turned around for you. How many people out there do you think gave up and felt like you were feeling like this is it, and all they need to do is try one more time? And they didn't. And now they're the old guy, like we're saying at the coffee shop, saying, like back when I was going, that was like this or whatever. And instead of saying, I went through this and I said, F that, I'm making this happen one way or another. It's going to work. And I just got to believe in myself. And talking about trusting in the basics, man, we talk about that. I feel like every day. But we are constantly harping on our guys, like when things aren't going right. And we talk to a lot of our elite athletes. They'll just call us just to just to pick our brain about like, I don't know what's going on. It's like, hey man, have you been doing A, B, and C that you were earlier in the year? Well, guess I haven't been focusing on that. I, started winning, started thinking I had to do other things and focus on this more. It's like, dude, and we always revert to bareback riders because we're just lowly old bareback riders. But if you just lift on your rig and set your feet and tuck your chin every jump, no matter what that horse does, it's gonna be a successful outcome usually, unless he just does a backflip with you. 98% of the time you do the basics, it's gonna go well. When you're roping calves, do the basics, no matter what that calf does. You're going to rope them and be able to time and have a successful time. May not be the fastest, but hey, that's rodeo, and that's part of the deal is we don't get to control 50% of this. The animals do a lot of it, So we talk about the physical preparation, the mental preparation, and when those things come together and you meet opportunity, right? Drawing the right animal or being at that rodeo, the right rodeo, and having a chance to win that 10,000 you really needed. That's when those things really come together for a guy. And to stay hooked like that, man, is just such an important lesson. I feel like no matter what you do in life, whether it's rodeo or running your own business, it's essential to just stay after it. If you have a passion for it, stay hooked. You're going to have roadblocks.
Yeah. And what you said is, a minute ago, how many people? I'm here to tell you, it's millions. Mm-hmm. There's millions of Americans that give up. Mm-hmm. That's why they vote for people who say, we'll give you this for free. Mm-hmm. The problem is, and why I believe it's all about this, because the mechanics and stuff for me, yes, for mental toughness, to have belief in yourself, you can master the mechanics until you feel like you deserve it more than anybody else, which is what I did, because I'm not smart. I was in every learning disability class. I tested IQ multiple times. I'm average at best, right? So I had to master the mechanics and just grind. I calculated my hours of practice up a few years ago, and I was at 32,000 hours. 32,000 hours. Okay. And Malcolm Gladwell's book, where you reference the 10,000 hours, he talks about the average professional has 10,000 hours. What I'm here to tell you, that's not good enough. If you're wanting to get to 10,000 hours, might as well shoot for 20,000 and maybe get a gold buckle. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not good enough if you want to be the best in the world. Mm-hmm. Right? And so there's two ways to approach it. Number one, School of Hard Knocks, which is what I did. But the other way is to work on your brain while you're building this. Yep. You know what I'm saying? If you work on your brain while you're building this, and it makes it so much easier. If you're mentally tough and you're working out, you begin to feel like you deserve it more than everybody else. Mm-hmm. And if it's passion, like you said, Doug, if it's your passion, you're going to just stay in it, even if it sucks, because you enjoy it.
Exactly. I was just going to say that you've done 10,000 hours or something. You're not just going to stop because, I've hit hour 10,000 and I'm not a world champ. Like, you're invested. You obviously love that thing. And so, you just said you did 32 hours of practice. Like, that's over 20 plus years of work. It's an incredibly long time, So, it's just so important that if you're doing 10,000 hours, you're already hooked. So you might as well just keep going and staying committed to it. And the other thing that you said, the basics are important, but it's right here between the ears. Mm. I think the part of that, what's between the ears, is telling yourself, I just need to keep doing these basics perfect. And that's the hardest thing, right? Is I got to do more. I just won this rodeo. No, stay hooked. Keep doing what do the simple things that equal success. Don't make it any more complicated than that, because that's the hardest part in rodeo. Is it gets really complicated really fast. And we usually do it to ourselves.
The number one thing that this is me self-reflecting, and I've competed for a long time, thousands and thousands of times. The number one thing that I could do wrong was look at the freaking standings. Yep. This guy's won 2,000. This guy's ahead of me. I got to try to force something to happen. I got to change my ride, and I got to change my roping. That's all BS. Mm-hmm. Pull your head out of your ass.
Yep.
Just mastering the mechanics. Master the mechanics. Go back to basics. Oh, your feet are slow? Okay, we'll get back to the spur board. Do some jump rope. Do some box jumps. Listen to Doug. He can get your feet faster. I'm just saying, you don't have to do – if you're seasoned athlete or you're trying to come into the game, you're better off just to focus on you and not even look at the standings. Mm-hmm. Don't look zero. The announcers will let you know where you're at enough, right? I got a world championship out of not looking at the standings at all, not knowing what I needed to do.
Yep.
That's why I bawled when I found out I won the championship, because I was like, really? Wow. And it's not. And one thing, just so you guys know, I've had a chance to win a championship 5 times. I only came through once.
Okay. Is that the only time that you never looked at the standings, or did you do that every time?
I didn't look at the standings, but I needed the money. I was always the guy that was like, hey, I can take third in the average here because that's going to pay me $30,000, and then that will set up my next season, or I could buy a rental property. And I'm at the point now where I don't care about the money. I want to know about the impact, which is why I'm so prevalent about mental toughness on social media. But anytime throughout the season, I remember one time coming into July, I was number 1 in the world, and I was like, it's like I had to self-sabotage myself to get back down to like 6 or 7 because I knew, hands down, I was the top 10 calf roper in the world in the world. But number 1, that didn't feel comfortable to me. I didn't like that, and I self-sabotaged my way down. But just knowing where I was at screwed me. It did. It jacked my head up because I don't need to care what Trevor Brazil's doing. I don't care what Tough Cooper's doing. Me right here. This is it. This is all that matters. If I do that, stay in my zone, I'll win. And that goes to every single other rodeo athlete and I don't care what event. Bull riding, calf roping, bareback riding, team roping. Do you to the best of your ability, and the winning will take care of itself.
Yep. Man, that's
two things that you said, like kind of harping back on the self-sabotage. 2 things you said early on was you won 2 high school championships, and then you thought, the grass is going to be green forever. And I think everybody learns that lesson the hard way. They come out real cocky out of high school and think, I won high school championship, I'm gonna be all right. And then the other thing that you said was that you needed the money. And so those are 2 things that come up with clients all the time. Like for us, like when we're talking, is don't rest on your laurels of your high school championships, and don't ride like you need the money, because you're gonna that's what screws up the whole mental thing, is when you're focusing on how bad you need the money. You're not focusing on winning, you're focusing on trying not to fall off or trying on
everything not to do
break out.
No, that was me 100% when I rodeoed, man. That's what I sabotaged my entire would have been probably a pretty decent career because of that one thing. I would get so wrapped up and put so much pressure on myself of having to win because I needed the money, man. I needed to pay my bills. I was 20 years old and just getting life figured out. And I would just think about it way too much instead of just lifting on my rigging and setting my feet every jump and having fun with it and everything. When I got to get back on again 7 years after all my injuries and stuff, and it was literally just for the sole fact of proving to myself that it could have been different. You are capable of doing this way better than you did. And I went back and taught myself, relearned everything. Sat down with Taylor Price. I don't know if you met him before, but won the American before. And
I remember.
Man, we sat down and every day for 3 months, I got on bucket machine, spur board, worked out with him. And I ate, breathed, and slept it. And got on my first horse back after 7 years and made the best ride I've ever made in my entire life. It was like, yep, that's good. That's all I needed. Like I can do that all day, right? I've got this training thing going. I'm going to keep rolling with that. I don't want to go rodeo. It was during COVID, so everyone was entering everything. And so I was entering some stuff around the house for fun. I entered Coleman, and there was like 60-something
everybody
entries
there.
Yeah. And Richie's like, what did you draw? I said, yeah, I turned out. I'm not going to ride against you guys. Are you kidding me? It doesn't even matter if I draw something good. No, I'm going to chill. So I, really, that was my moment of really starting to pursue this champion living fitness deal. And, but it was a cool experience to come back and just reteach myself all of those things and, learn that, self-sabotage is a real thing. And I deal with, even on the business side, man, I still have tendencies to want to do that occasionally. And I'm much better at saying nah, slap in the face. That's not real. You're making that up in your head. What do you know to be true? You keep doing these things. Everything else keep following that, right? So it's been a cool lesson to learn from rodeo and take it to business.
It all comes down to your belief. It all comes down to your belief, because I love that you guys are talking about self-sabotage, and in the years that I rodeoed professionally, I only ever got close to the finals one time, and it was August, the end of the year's coming. And I believe that I self-sabotaged myself to the point of injury. It was a mental block. I didn't believe that I was getting text messages from friends and family that I hadn't talked to in a while. Keep going, keep pushing, keep the pedal down. You're almost there. And I just couldn't handle it. I didn't believe that I deserved to be there. And at some sort of subconscious level, and it can flesh itself out as these injuries. And I got injured and had to go home. And so, but what it came down to is just like you guys are talking about, right between the ears. I had the ability. I worked hard at it. I was drawing the right horses, but I didn't believe. And there's so many other people out there like that, and like what you guys are talking about, like Doug and like me, that have gone through the trenches but still don't believe. They work hard, they try to master their mechanics, but they don't believe in their heart of hearts that they deserve to be on that stage, and they won't get there because that mental aspect is the limiting factor.
Logan, I got to add something to that too. For that person that believes that, they need to understand that was given to them by somebody else. You don't work hard and feel like you don't deserve something unless it was passed down to you some way, somehow, from a parent, from a teacher, from a brother, from somebody in your life. Now, if you get back to the root of it and say, where did I get this thought? Where did I get this thought? Was it served to me by somebody else? Or is this something I truly believe? And if it was served to you by somebody else, it's not something that you have to accept. I was told I was dumb and never going to make it in a box of rocks every single day. Guess what? I speak 3 languages, have multiple successful companies. I'm a world champion, been the NFR a ton of times. And this is from a kid who was told he was never going to make it dumb as a box of rocks his whole life. So if the person is, this is very near and dear to my heart. If you have these thoughts where you feel like you don't deserve it, it was given to you. Go back to the root of the problem and deal with it. And then it will be so much easier.
Man,
mic drop.
I'm cracking back out. I just want you to know this is the catalyst. I'm getting ready to go. I ain't been on nothing in 2 years. Let's go. I'm buying my card. We're going.
We got OPAs coming up.
Yeah, as long as I can just take Tyson with me. Like if you could just if we could just rodeo together, that would be awesome. We'll do that.
Hey, the only reason I know about the brain is because that was such a head case. You know, if you're a person who that you seek knowledge from hasn't been through the dirt, they can't help you.
That's a fact, man.
That's why I seek people who are dirty, you know, who have been there, who have done it. And that's how I've time collapsed in business. That's how I've time collapsed in my roping. That's how because I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get in front of that person who has what I want, if they've been there, done that. Whatever it takes. 50 grand, doesn't matter. I'm going to get it. I'm going to figure it out. Working 18 hours a day for free for 2 years, which is what I did for my first mentor. No problem. I'll do it. Whatever you want. And a life hack for any of you guys or anybody listening, if you want to get close to somebody who has what you want, there's 2 ways to do it. Number 1, you work your way in. You show up, early. They want their car cleaned. You clean their car. You sweep out their car. You clean their stalls. You say, hey man, I'll just come by the ranch and you don't need to give me anything. I don't want anything. And I will sweep your barn out. I'll pressure wash your house. I'll do everything for you. Pretty soon, you'll become such an asset in that person's life that they want to pour in you because of the law of reciprocity. They will feel like they owe you something. Okay. The second way is much faster. And this is usually for people who have the financial means, is that you buy your way in. It's what people do, come into roping clinics or schools. Like, okay, this thing's $500, $1,000. Okay, well, I'll just buy my way in and that'll get me in front of these people and I can learn that knowledge, right? And so if you have no money, work your way in. If you have money, buy your way in. Because it's all about time collapsing. How can we take something that would take us this long by ourselves and do that to it? To where I have the knowledge. If you got the will, they've got the knowledge. Just pair the 2 and go kick ass. Yep.
That is right on the money. And that's why these schools that are coming up, this is what I want to get into next. And we're doing something we call the Optimal Performance Academy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, man, we're trying to teach everybody the stuff that we had to learn the hard way, the school of hard knocks, right? And like you're saying, like you can pay the $1,500 to come and you get to learn every single thing that not only me, Logan, and Paul have learned, but Caleb Bennett, Chase Brooks, Damian Brennan, these guys that made the finals 10 times, they're going to teach you everything they've learned about rodeo. And we had just one class during our first school, and Caleb gets up there and teaches, we call it a year on the road with Bennett. And he teaches you every single thing that he paid an expense, how much money it cost him in entry fees alone before he even set foot out on a horse, we had no idea that it took $50,000 at a minimum to just enter rodeos. Like, it's not even fuel, eating. Like, you haven't done anything but just put your money in to go attempt to win it back. No clue. So we're sitting here with NFR dreams when we're 18 years old and thinking, yeah, we're going to just go and make it. Like, dude, you should really have about 50 to 60,000 in the bank to be comfortable and not have to worry about those things, right? Go ahead.
Or a reoccurring revenue stream.
Yes. Yes.
That can replenish.
Yes.
So the first 10 years of my rodeo career, I was like, how much can I win? How much blah, 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 blah. And it was earned income. It was income that I got in from winning. Right. Mm-hmm. And after about 10 years, I'm like, I met my wife. I got married to my wife. She comes from the music industry in Nashville. Mm-hmm. And she knew about, sponsors and how to approach people and how to do this stuff. And then pretty soon I was doubling my income with sponsors. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is great. This is awesome. But then I got to thinking, wait a second, I'm on a wheel still. I have to produce to get back. And then I'm like, okay, we got the rodeo income. We got the sponsor income. Then the next thing was like, how can I create businesses and leverage my fame in the industry to make money selling to the people who know, like, and trust me because I'm doing stuff in the arena? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, my wife's family was in belt buckle. So we're like, all right, we got a belt buckle company now. Let's knock that out. Then we started having kids in the Western industry. Shea Baby was born. And it wasn't easy overnight, but it made it to where I could choose to rodeo or choose not to rodeo based on my level of desire or the amount of time I wanted to spend away from my family.
And how much more freedom does that give you? How much worry does that take away? You show up to the rodeo, you aren't thinking about anything about the money. Money doesn't matter. You're there because you love it and you're going to have fun. And now you're probably going to win because you're doing both of those things, right?
And I highly implore, if you're a young person, you need to, and don't come from anything. I speak from the guy that comes from nothing. I can't speak to the trust fund kids who have millions of dollars because, they might like my motivation. That's cool. And I'm all about helping everybody. But the guy that's broke, that comes from nothing, when you're learning your craft, work on getting some kind of skill that can replace your income while you're trying to figure it out on the road. Mine was shoeing horses. Okay. I would shoe 4 or 5 horses a day. Then I'd go rope a calf. I'd lose all my money in the arena and I'd go find 4 or 5 more horses to shoe again. But it's so much broader now. If you're a video editor, like social media freaking shorts, are you kidding me? Whoever's going to cut this thing up, and social media, digital marketing, ad funnels, Facebook marketing, Google AdWords. This is all stuff you can do while you're on the road rodeoing to get money back while you're trying to make it as a pro level athlete. And it's not hard. It's just this, just working at it.
Yep. Just thinking outside the box. And I love when you said something about you having to go back and you started a welding business to start making money. And we talked to young guys, especially at this school, that rodeo can't be it for you. This cannot be your only thing, especially right now. You have to have multiple things and that are creating revenue, creating interest. You'll be usually pretty heartbroken if rodeo is your only thing and you're just betting all the eggs in that basket. Here we go, because we all know that's 98% of the time that doesn't happen. You have to have other things. And I think that's another reason that when rodeo's over for people, it's so hard because they don't have anything else. That's it. Their whole world was taken apart. They've worked for that their entire life so far. And every hour has gone into rodeo and they're lost now. They don't have anywhere to go. So it's a multiple scale thing where you are setting yourself up for success in multiple places, having other things besides just rodeo. I'm not saying you can't be obsessed with rodeo and be a professional at it, but when you're doing that, have other hobbies that can make you an income. My brother's a great example. Dude loves to be outside and fly fish. Broke his neck, had to have a fusion. A year, you're done, dude. Well, he could have sat on the couch and not done anything and moped. He's like, I'm going to be a fishing guide. So he went and got his fishing guide license and starts guides all summer, made a great little side money and didn't have to worry about anything. Got to love it and take a break. And so now he's back rodeo. He's like, man, I miss this. I missed rodeo. And I love fly fishing. And I really like taking people out, but all that just made me realize how much I love this. And it's just making those things your own. You can make a job out of anything these days. Whatever you love, whatever you're good at, if you're passionate about it, you can find a way. And who would have thought that, 5 years ago, we would be having a full blown business that trains rodeo athletes in fitness, because No, not me.
Well, and it's very much needed, but your customer is always broke, right? Your customer, it's hard to find customers that have money. And so like going back to like the hardest thing to do with rodeo, the hardest thing to do for everybody, not just the top guys, is quitting. Letting go is the absolute hardest thing, if you're passionate, that you will ever do with rodeo, right? Letting go and stomping. I don't care if you're a world champion and you have multiple irons in the fire like I do or whatever. It's still hard. Oh, yeah. It's still hard. My desire, and I'm still rodeoing a little bit, but my desire to leave my kids, watching my 6-year-old run to me, bawling her eyes out saying, Daddy, why do you have to leave again? Yeah. That's the hardest thing for me to do. Yep. And I will not do it again unless I can have them with me. Yep. So quitting, excuse me, is the hardest thing. But you also, rodeo only takes up so much time. Like I see these dudes at the rodeo and they're like, they're just out jacking, having fun 24/7. That's fine. That's fine. But that's not somebody that's going to leave a legacy. I'm not interested in average. Average is the freaking enemy. Leaving a legacy is what you should do. Right. And you can watch, footage. You can rope the bail. You can get on the spurboard. You can plan out your next route. But all in, that's 8 hours a day. What are you doing with the other 16 hours? What, like, you go to the movies 5 times? Like, freaking replenish your freaking brain. Learn a new skill. And if you're not going to do that, then do it, like, pass the blame on to somebody else. Myself, I'm a lazy turd. I'm naturally a lazy turd, right? But because I tie my success now to my wife, my kids, my God, my community, I will not give up or give in. Too many athletes are thinking, what I need to get to this next rodeo. I need a new rigging. I need a new set of spurs. I. And guess what? That leads you to sitting on your ass, not doing very much when you have enough. From a point of service, if you're like, my mom is sick right now. If this is an example, my mom is sick right now. I'm going to go get to the NFR because I don't know how much longer she's got. Then you will get your ass in gear. My kids are growing up. They want to see their dad sitting around drinking his 6-pack, telling dirty jokes all the time, or they want to see their dad that's a badass, who chases life, who has fun, that's great in the arena, that's a good person, a good businessman. Like, that's what I tie my stuff to. I tie my stuff, I do some, a little bit of stuff in Mexico with trafficked children now. So I'm like, if I can't send this check or do this thing, then these kids get put back on the streets. And you know what happens to them if they get put back on the streets? Things that you guys can't even conceive. Yeah. So that's how I stay so motivated all the time and why I move so fast. You come out here, anybody on my team, like, I move fast all the time, probably to a detriment, let's be honest. But it's wired in me that there's an urgency. There's an urgency to get this thing done. I don't care if it's cutting the grass or getting my schedule knocked out or whatever. There's an urgency to it because I've literally simplified it in my brain where that if I don't do this, this happens. And I can tell you guys stories. Like when I won Houston, I told myself 230 people died if I didn't win Houston. Because off that tithe, I could build a well in Africa, would save 230 lives. Second place isn't an option when you have to do that. Right. When I was young and my life was very volatile, I struggled with suicide. Guys, my brain is like, I sometimes want to take a scan of my brain because I think it just fires weird or something. I would tell myself I'm either going to die or I'm going to make it. Bottom line, that's it. And I'm not going to let that voice in my head that says you're not good enough, you're too stupid, you're not smart. I'm not going to let it win. It's not going to happen. I refuse. I'm either going to die or I'm going to make it. And so through understanding that in the beginning when I was young, it was all about the money. It was all about, I hate this thing, so I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to die. I'm going to make it. And then as I had a family, it's like for my wife, my kids, and as I grow my business, it's like, how can I help other people, these other kids out there, these other individuals? And so I always, my success is always dependent on not just me. Because once you get a couple 100,000 a year, you'll turn into a fat turd again. You will. because you get everything you need. Life's comfortable, right? I always tie it to something bigger than me, something that keeps me motivated. Sorry for the ramble, but I get pretty passionate about that.
Awesome. No, that's awesome, man. Fantastic. That's really important. Yeah, that's being passionate about something is going to lead you to success no matter what you're doing. You have to. And like you said, a lot of people think they're passionate about something, they make a couple $100,000 a year, and that passion goes away really easy because life's easy at that point. But when you live with a different mindset of, people are depending on me, this is just the tip of the iceberg. How much more could I do with my vision and helping other people with these extra funds, things like that. How many more schools can I put on? How many, how many more people can I help in other countries, whatever it is. There's a lot of opportunity there when you're tied to something that big and your legacy is that big that you want to leave behind. There's no other option. And you hit life on fire and with your feet running. And I feel like we all kind of operate on that same level of, we're high speed, all of us, and we're always getting stuff done. And you're not going to ever see us really sitting around. We're always moving to that next thing, and not, like you said, mediocrity is the enemy. And that's one of my biggest fears, man, is when I start feeling like I haven't done something or tried something new to advance us, I start getting that self-sabotage feeling of like, oh, what's going to happen? Something's going to go wrong. Like, what are we doing? Instead of just, all right, no, this is next step. We need to keep working and keep going. So,
and I want
sense of urgency.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But you guys are doing a great job, by the way. I watch. So what you guys are doing is what 100 other rodeo athletes need to do. What I'm doing with my No Limits mentorship program and my mental toughness product that I'm fixing to come out with, like every single athlete needs to do this because of the passion. Because people are like, oh, that's $100 or that's $200 or that's $1,500. Do you not understand that wisdom is what you need? Wisdom and action. And so
it's the fast track.
Like, it is the fast track.
You get to break down that barrier, and you're getting something out of it. Like it's not for nothing. Like it's just like going to a rodeo school or whatever else.
And you do it, and I do it because we know we can help somebody.
Yes.
We know we can help. And if you're an athlete, if you're a rodeo, if you're a calf roper, if you're a team roper, if you're a bareback rider, there needs to be more of us out there, because guess what? Our sport's dying. It's dying. There's less and less bareback riders. There's less and less calf ropers. There's less and less bulldoggers. It's dying. If you have the knowledge and you're sitting on your ass not doing anything, then you're cheating the whole industry, and you're cheating the children that may want to do what you do.
That's a fact.
And that's it. If you look at and guess what? If you can make a living while doing it, why not? It's fulfilling.
A good living. A good living. There's never been a better time to be a professional rodeo athlete. Never been a better time to be a professional rodeo athlete. The money's getting bigger and bigger. And that sense of urgency, like you said, is what separates the average from everybody else. Having that sense of urgency. And we don't see that in our culture very much anymore. I ask, have you been riding the spur board? No, I've been busy. I said, dude, you're 17 and you're going to buy your rookie card next year. You're not busy. You have to have that sense of urgency every single day. And I know that that's the way that we approach our business, and the way that I approach work with clients is that there's a sense of urgency. We have to get these things done so that we can move forward. And I love everything that you've said, and think that this podcast, this episode right here has provided so much value just to me. I can only imagine what this can do for our listeners. Anyway, I just wanted to say this has been worth a lot of money in and of itself. The last 43 minutes is amazing.
Hey, will you just, I want to hear a little bit more about these programs that you're offering, the No Limits mentorship, and then this mental toughness deal you've got coming out. Can you just kind of give us a rundown of what that looks like? And then also, any listeners where they can find out more about this, or potentially, what they want to sign up, kind of check it out.
Yeah. So I've had the No Limits mentorship for like 4 or 5 years. I was in one of those phases in my life. So when I want to learn something new, I just wake up super early, and I'm passionate about it. So I would get up like super early. And by the way, I'm not a morning person, just so everybody knows. I would stay up later and wait and sleep in. Like, I'm a rodeo cowboy, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But I'm getting into this deal, and I'm watching this guy named Gary Vee at 4 o'clock in the morning one day. And he's like, you got to get your message out in the world. If you're not creating content around your business, you're falling behind and all this stuff. And I kind of liked social media at the time, but I hadn't like done a lot of it. Like, I'd posted, but I didn't like make it strategic. And he looks at me on his stage. Of course, he's looking at the camera. He knows how to work the stage. He looks at the camera and he said, "It's the internet, dick." Like that. Pardon my French. I am a Christian. I love Jesus, but I have to emphasize this. He says, "It's the internet," like that. And I'm like, whoa, if I want to help people with their roping, because I'm getting hundreds of DMs, I need to do it through the internet. How do I do that? Mm-hmm. I don't know anything. I don't know how to build a course. I don't know how to send an email. I don't know text automation. I don't know nothing. Zero. Facebook ads, zero. So every day for a year, I got up way before everybody else. I would disappear in my office. My wife was like, what are you doing every morning? It's weird. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, it's the internet, babe. We're going to blow up on the internet. This can change lives. We can do all this cool stuff. Long story short, started the No Limits Mentorship Program. It's been great. All while wanting to work in mental toughness. But I needed to learn how everything worked, how to send emails, how to text, how to do all this stuff. So I did that through the people who knew, like, and trust me the most, ropers. Mm-hmm. Now, last year, I spent one entire year coaching a group of individuals on mental toughness, how to get confidence, how to overcome procrastination, how to manage your time, how to do all these things that I've learned how to do. And so it was a beta group. It was like 30 people. I let into this group. I charged them a monthly fee. And then after 1 year, I package it up and I sell it as my mental toughness masterclass. It's something that's available now. But I have something I call the Cowboy Challenge that I'm building out. And just so you guys know, from a profitable standpoint, if you don't have continuity in your business, you're dead, mm-hmm. right? So people that pay you every month for a service that you provide, and not one that requires time. I'm big on things that you can do one time and sell hundreds mm-hmm. or thousands of times. So you're not trading time for money. And so I run people starting June 1st. That's our go date. Hey, you hear that? June 1st is the date. This is my secretary over there. She keeps me in line. But June 1st, we'll have the Cowboy Challenge ironed out. It's an 11-day challenge that's going to help everybody level up and go to the next level in their mental toughness, their resiliency, their confidence. And it's not just about exercising twice a day for 45 minutes. It taps into emotional triggers and other things, but exercise is part of the challenge. Mm-hmm. So I'll have the Cowboy Challenge and then the Mental Toughness Masterclass. So the Cowboy Challenge is to really get people thinking about where they're deficient, right? But give them a little bit of momentum. Then the Mental Toughness Masterclass is the mechanics behind it. Hey, this is why you have confidence in this area of your life and why you don't in this area, okay? Mm-hmm. That's the mechanics behind it. Above and beyond that, I have what's called the Winner Circle, which is my group of people that I bring in. And Doug, you might be a guest instructor in the Winner Circle where people pay a monthly fee. I teach on a topic, you teach on a topic. We do live Q&As, and it's a continuity thing where they pay so much every month to be involved with the Winner Circle. So it's, in the marketing terms, we call it a value ladder. You're taking mm-hmm. person from here, here, here. And as the knowledge increases, so do the price points.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. That's really cool, man. That's really, really cool. And something that in our industry, there isn't anything like that that's specifically dialed into the rodeo athlete in the same sense of what we're doing. It's all about the rodeo athlete. And what we're all offering in you as well, we've been there. We've done this, and not to discredit anyone that is trying to get into this industry and do what we're doing that hasn't rodeoed, because I think they can still offer value, but they haven't been there and they don't know the sport. And that's the difference in between the results that they're getting with their clients and the results we're all seeing with our clients is those life lessons that we're teaching are things that we've taught ourselves, like we've had to learn ourselves. Right. And we've taught ourselves how to get out of those things as well, which is why we're able to, it's useful, and people and the masses are able to take these skills or tips or whatever and put them to work. Is it TysonDurfey.com? Is that your website?
Yeah, TysonDurfey.com. But look, you guys will all see the Cowboy Challenge here in another 30 days advertised everywhere. If you're interested in taking the Cowboy Challenge, you can go directly to thecowboychallenge.com, or you can just click on the link and get after it. But the truth is, I would ask people, how long are you going to continue to be average? How long are you going to allow your life to slip through your fingertips? Mm-hmm. How long are you going to sit around with that belly that you knew you should have got rid of? How long are you going to be okay with being one hole out of the money? How long are you going to be okay with letting your family slip away from you because you're drawing back? Like, what is it going to take? What is it going to take for you to get in gear, right?
Yep.
Whatever these guys offer, take it. Just look at them. They're professionals. They know what the hell they're doing. Me, I've been there, done it as well. Like, I mean, it's not me, and it's not Doug. Find somebody.
Mm-hmm.
We have a massive mental health crisis in America right now. Just look at the news. We're arguing over what you identify as. This is straight up horse crap.
Yeah.
And we're teaching our kids this junk.
Mm-hmm.
They want you dependent. They want you dependent on their system. They want you dependent on their next fixation or the next thing they're going to give you. Be a man.
They don't want men. They don't want healthy men at that,
Exactly.
And they don't want strong men either, and if we can be all of those things, we are now not having to rely on anybody.
Amen.
And that is, that's the biggest thing we're going for. And when you're talking about, we're being told what gender to be and stuff, that when we were talking about earlier, those things that are told to you, that are passed on to you, that's the evil that we're dealing with on that. Is like, we have some people that are going, whatever this movement is, they are telling younger children that is what they are. I hate to tell you, no matter what you tell a kid, if you're their mom or dad, that's where they're headed. Like, it doesn't matter. They don't actually, I don't know. Yeah. That's a whole other deal, but I agree with that 100%. Yeah. I agree with that 100%. Tyson, thank you so much for being here today, man. I think this has probably been the most valuable thing we've done in a long time. I hope everyone listening takes a ton from this. Listen back to it. Make sure you check out the Cowboy Challenge coming up. When this releases, it should be pretty dang close, maybe a week before you're starting that challenge. So everyone will be able to check that out, cowboychallenge.com. We got to thank our sponsors, Beastmaster Rodeo. They are the top professional rodeo gear company out there, or any rodeo gear at that point. Elite customer service. They're going to have their gear out to you quick. You can check them out, beastmasterrodeo.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving, all one word, caps lock. Going to save you 10% on all their products. Guys, until next time, we'll catch you later.